Thanks for watching the Install Pro channel. Today we're going to be showing you how to smoke the tail lights on this 2016 Dodge Ram. If this is the first time checking out our channel, please make sure you check out the description of this video. There's a link to our giveaway. We'll also have a link to the paint that we use to smoke the tail lights. So we'll get started.
Hi, today I'm going to show you how to smoke the tail lights on this Dodge Ram using transparent night shades. It's a tail light smoke paint, but basically transparent hobby paint. I'll go over the stuff that you'll need to do it, the tools, the type of paint, why we would use that type of paint. And then also want to make sure, as a disclaimer, that you'll want to check with your local state law. In our state, this is for off-road or show use only, not for on-highway use here. Always check with your local state law on everything that you do when you modify anything to your vehicle. The first thing that you got to do is clean the tail light. Just use a terry cloth and alcohol and water. Just spray it. Clean it really good. You're going to be spraying it just like painting cars or in a paint booth. You know, you got to have it dust free and wet your paint really clean, and the cleaner it is, the better it is. Same with tint and paint protection film, and same with this. So get that really clean. I'm going to be cleaning the other lights, so a lot of times I don't set this on the bumper where it's dirty or whatever. You just keep it in a clean place. I'm going to go over how to mask these. So the reason I'm not going to pull the light out, and this truck would be pretty easy. I just dropped the tailgate. Matter of fact, I'm going to drop the tailgate now anyways.
I was like, when you did that, I'm like, oh dude, the back of that thing's dirty. I didn't think we were going to drop that taillight.
I go leave it. But anyways, that would be a less line that I would have to mask. But in this case, I'll be masking. So, the reason I'm not going to pull the taillight out of this, it probably would be better in some cases to pull the light out, set it aside on a table or something and paint it. But I'm going to show you how to mask it, and the reason why is because on pickup trucks and a couple of them, it's easy to pull the taillight out, but a lot of vehicles, SUVs and stuff, you're gonna pop the rear hatch, and there's gonna be plastic panels that have to come off. They're gonna have different size torques and different things, and maybe an airbag sensor, a plug, and a lot of stuff you got to deal with. So if you just mask it right, then you can spray it on the vehicle. Also, when you spray this stuff, it takes hours to dry. So if you spray it and you have it over there sitting there, you got to wait for it to dry till the next day before you can handle it with your hands and push on it hard enough to put it in, or you'll get fingerprints in the tail light. So when you do it in the vehicle, you can mask it, spray it, dry it with a heat gun, or give it a couple hours, and then it's dry. So that's another reason to do it that way. So what I've done on these, because you could use painter's plastic or something, that's going to work too. Really what I've done, because I've always had rolls of paper towels around, is I just take a piece of tape like this, and you can buy the painter's plastic too that comes with the tape on the edge of it, but I just take a piece of tape and just tape to the edge of the paper towel, and then I just start running them around the tail light. And you got to mask pretty far. So, roll of paper towels is only $1, so if you use a half a roll, it seems like it's kind of wasteful, but the cost isn't really all that much. So, you just don't want to be left with overspray on your vehicle. If you do get a little bit of overspray on your vehicle, I just use this acetone. Just know that it's flammable, and read the directions and the cautions on the back of it. But if you get a little overspray on your paint, you can just take the cloth and a little bit of this, and it'll just wipe off when you're done. And then you'd want to take some alcohol and water and a rag and get that off. But that's pretty easy cleanup if you get it off right away. But if you mask far enough back, you won't have any overspray, and if you get a little, that's how they'll take it off. But you just keep taking these, you put them around. Now, the masking is really important because just like with painting anything, a good mask job does the job, and a bad mask job has a lot of cleanup. So when you're tucking this tape in right here, the Taillight ends there. If you just kind of, just throw that on there, when you're done, you're gonna have overspray and stuff. You got to clean up. It's a nightmare. So just take your time, do a good job when you're masking. I take the tape and I tuck it up under the Taillight like that. Okay. And now when it starts wrapping around, this is stuck, so I can't really tuck it anymore. So I just kind of go high, so that then I can come back and press it up under the Taillight a little bit there. And that way I don't get overspray there. So you just get the tape up under the Taillight. Here you notice I gave a little extra to get around that edge of the tailgate there. On this particular vehicle, I'm sure there'll be a couple people that watch this and be like, man, that was a lot of masking. Why didn't you just pull the taillight out of the truck? I get it. That probably would have been a little bit easier. But for the sake of the video and people that are going to do this, they're not all going to have a Dodge Ram. They're going to be able to get their taillight out. It's going to be an SUV. There's going to be plastic panels they don't know how to take off. Things like that. Maybe they're trying to do a Jeep and they've got a trip coming up. They're trying to get out of town to go rock crawling or something, and they don't want to wait for the taillights to dry overnight. Just mask them, smoke them on the Jeep, throw it on the trailer, and they can head down the road. And a couple hours later, if they were to take them out of the Jeep, they wouldn't be able to handle them for 24 hours because you have to push hard to snap lights back in a lot of times, and that pressure from your thumb leaves a mark in the paint. So but if you have a pickup and you'd rather just take the light out, that's okay too. On this particular one, there's 2 Torx right in the side, and then there's a pin there and a pin there. You just pull backwards and it comes out, and you unhook the 2 lights and set them aside and smoke them that way if you want. The whole process from start to finish, we're going to do the cab light, third brake light, and these 2 tail lights. The video will be much shorter, but the whole process from start to finish, even if it's your first time doing it, you mask it and you go slow and tack coat and put 1 or 2 coats on it. It should only take you about an hour, so it doesn't take too long. These cans are usually, I think they're $13. Paper towels, so maybe $15, $20. It's not real expensive. One thing you always want to do is just shake this really good. Read the directions on the back. I'm going to go over everything, but just read them. You want the temperature, the best place to do it is in a controlled environment, where the dust is less and the contaminants in a garage or something like that. You don't want to be doing this out in the wind or when it's 100+ degrees or freezing cold. The paint will run when it's cold. 60 to 90 degrees is what the ideal temperature for applying this. If you really could narrow it down, somewhere around 70 degrees or in the 70s, 65 is good. You want to shake this up really good. There's the ball in there, get it rolling around the bottom. Go the other way, upside down. The reason you want to make sure that you shake it really good when you're spraying it out of there, a lot of times if you don't shake it good, when you spray it, it'll be kind of uneven. It'll come out heavier or lighter. It'll run down the thing, and just shake it good. So the first thing that you want to do is a tack coat. So this is a slick, smooth surface. If you just start applying this really heavy, it's just going to run. Okay? So you shake it up. You just want to do a tack coat. So you're just misting the tail light here. And this isn't the same pattern you're going to use to lay the final thing. But you're basically just throwing a tack coat on there. You've got to let that dry. When you put the tack coat on, you spray this transparent paint at first onto the tail light there. You're going to look at it, and you're going to see blotches and dots and specks, and it doesn't look real pretty at first. That's a tack coat. When you come back and you cover it heavier later with the other two coats, then it's going to fill that in. It's not going to look like that. So don't think that you're doing anything wrong or that it's going to look like that in the end. That's just a tack coat. You've got to let that dry depending on the temperature. Outside or in your garage where you're doing it, you need to let that dry really for about 30 minutes. You want that tack coat to be dry. If you just spray it on there and it's kind of wet, you rush over there 5 minutes later and you just start spraying, you don't really do yourself any good. It's still going to want to run. Putting the wet paint on wet paint, so let it dry. You can use a heat gun or a hair dryer to speed that up, but give it about 30 minutes to dry the tack coat. Okay, now I'm going to apply the second coat. This will be the first full coat following the tack coat. This is now dry. This is a little different pattern. So it's kind of like if you've ever seen a painter or seen machines paint on TV or whatever, maybe you have, you haven't. But they keep an even distance away from what they're doing. They don't go like this. You just keep a steady thing, and it's a full spray. Let go, full spray. You need to put it on heavy, but not so heavy that it runs. So try to watch how I do it and do it that way. So I shake the can. Right before I do the first spray, I always spray a little bit out in the air. That way if it's going to come out chunky or sputter some stuff out, it's not on my tail light. So I'll go here, and then I always start at the top, a little above where the tail light is. And these guys got it figured out right here. You keep the can, 10 to 14 inches away from the tail light, about a foot away or maybe a little closer. And there's a reason for that. The spray, the mist adjusts, and the pattern, there's just a certain way to the pattern. So about a foot away, a little spray like that. You start here, and you just go like that. Okay. Now I crossed over the pattern on the last coat. You're going to see I'm not going to do that. On this one I did it. I just wanted to get the coverage a little bit better. But on the last one you want to just stay one direction. So when I do the very last one, I'm going to just stay like this. That one, I'm just trying to get a few different angles on it and get good coverage. It's round. So about that heavy. That was the second coat. Depending on how dark you want your tail light, you can do 3 or 4 or 5 coats. I usually only do 3. A tack coat, 1 coat there, let that dry, and then I do a final coat. So we'll let that dry for, now there's more there, so the first one we let dry for about 15-20 minutes. This one we're going to want to give it about 30 minutes. You can speed it up with a blow dryer or a heat gun. Okay, now that the second coat's dry, I'm going to put on a third and final coat. It's going to be heavy. You're going to want it to be real shiny and clear, so you don't want to blotch it. Just follow the pattern that I do. It's going to be about 10 inches off of the tail light, keeping the same distance around, and that'll be the final coat. So, always do a little spray out in the air there. I'm going to start at the top here, and you'll see me going a little bit slower this time. Just putting it on a little bit heavier. Overlapping the pattern too. I don't jump down a lot each time. And pay attention. Make sure you're not getting any runs. You got to put it on heavy enough to be shiny. That whole tail light is all shiny, equally shiny now. If I'd have went, you know, off and on with the pattern or whatever, I would have areas you could tell, and that just looks like one nice big shiny coat. Went kind of heavy to keep the wet, shiny, you know, the kind of gloss look to it with the clear. This is single stage paint, so that comes out of the can. And that one's done now. It just needs to dry for about, I'd give it at least an hour before it went out and you took it driving. But you can see now why sometimes we mask them. If you had that light painted sitting there, you couldn't put it back in the truck till tomorrow unless you wanted to sit there with a heat gun for a really long time. There you go. That's how to smoke a tail light with transparent paint. Alright, so I've seen a few different ways of doing this, a couple different attempts, some interesting stuff. I like the transparent hobby paint the best. I think it looks the best, holds up the best. The spray, the mist is nice, it shines through good. A lot of times people will ask us about putting tinting their taillights, because this is basically like putting a tint on, but they want to actually take film and try to wrap it onto their taillight. It doesn't work. I've personally tried it a few times. Years ago, it doesn't work. What does work, in my opinion, the next best thing to do would be smoked paint protection film. They make that. Because it stretches. Tint doesn't stretch, it only shrinks. And these taillights are fairly smooth. Most of them have little indents and curves and texture things. It just doesn't work out with film, with window film. Smoke paint protection film, also known as clear bra, they have a smoked version of that you can, you know, stretch it on, squeegee it on wet, trim it out, and do that, and that works pretty good too. And there's also some vinyls out there. They're kind of a transparent smoked vinyl, which is really similar to the smoked paint protection film. It's kind of transparent, it's smoked, and you can put it on there and trim it out. It ends up kind of looking the same. That works too. You can't get it quite as dark with that. I haven't seen it really dark. Sometimes if you were to peel that off, some of the products will leave adhesive, some won't. So you have glue you're trying to get off of the tail light or whatever. But this is the way that I prefer. I've done this a lot of times. I like this process and I like this the best. I think it looks the cleanest and most professional.
Hey guys, thanks for watching our video. If you liked it, please take the time to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We've had a number of individuals who've reached out to us about Install Pro's shirts, hats, and other swag. We're currently in the process of designing some new ones. We thought we would give you guys an opportunity to share your ideas with us. If you've got some ideas about some funny shirts, serious shirts, funny sayings that could go on shirts, please reach out to us. You can leave comments below. You can send us an email at support@installpros.com. If we like your idea, we will give you a free tint kit or clear bra kit as a thank you, and we'll also send you a free shirt. Please take the time to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. And again, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Thank you.